Perhaps no creature is better known for its laments and dreary wail, a sound which can send chills down the bravest of people's spines, than my ex-wife. But in Irish mythology, there's also the creature called the Banshee. What is this creature, and why has its name been used for fighter planes, video game villains, and space vehicles? And why are barn owls important to this story? Welcome to the mysteries of mythology, the Banshee. Some of today's pop culture has portrayed the Banshee and her screams as terrifying. Her screams have even been made into weapons, such as the Marvel character of the same name. But the Banshee is far more interesting than this two-dimensional character we see today. By the end of this video, you'll learn far more about this Irish creature and why this might be a monster that you'd want on your side. Perhaps one of the best-known stories comes from the book Fairy Legends and Traditions of the South of Ireland, written by Thomas Crofton Croker in 1825. The protagonist from the story was a real person, the Reverend Charles Bunworth, a beloved Irish clergyman and harpist. The author, Croker, is thought to be the great-grandson of Reverend Bunworth, and according to him, there are still living, credible witnesses who declare their authenticity and who can be produced to attest most, if not all, of the following particulars. The tale begins with a simple errand. A week before the Reverend's passing, Kavanagh, a herdsman for the Bunworth estate, set off for Mallow to collect medicine for the Reverend, who had recently fallen ill. While Bunworth's condition wasn't considered dire, what Kavanagh experienced on his journey back home would soon suggest otherwise. Kavanagh returned to the house late at night, visibly shaken and distressed. He delivered the medicine to Miss Bunworth, Charles's daughter, and when she questioned him about his state, the herdsman broke down in tears, saying, "The master, miss, he is going from us." Confused, Miss Bunworth asked if he'd heard anything alarming while in Mallow, to which Kavanagh replied no. Despite his calm words, his face told another story. He was terrified. When Miss Bunworth accused him of being drunk, Kavanagh solemnly denied it. Instead, he confided in her what had truly shaken him. He had seen the Banshee. According to Kavanagh, a ghostly figure with long white hair and a black cloak had followed him through the grounds of Ballybeg Priory. The Banshee wailed, screeched, and clapped her hands, at times even calling out the Reverend's name. As Kavanagh passed under a tree that had been struck by lightning, the figure sat beneath it, crying so bitterly that it chilled his very soul. Though Miss Bunworth tried to dismiss his claims as superstition, Kavanagh insisted that the Banshee had come to warn of her father's death. In the following days, Reverend Bunworth's health took an unexpected turn for the worse. His condition declined rapidly, despite the hopes of his family and friends. On the night before his death, the Reverend requested that his bed be moved downstairs to the parlor beside a window, as he sought a change of scenery from his bedroom. An eerie calm settled over the house that night, with several close friends and family gathered in the adjoining room, while others waited anxiously in the kitchen. Suddenly, the stillness of the night was broken. A rose bush outside the parlor window rustled violently, as if something, or someone, had disturbed it. Moments later, the household was gripped by a chilling sound, a low, mournful moaning, accompanied by the unmistakable clapping of hands. The sound seemed to come from right outside the window, as though the wailing figure had pressed her face against the glass. The elderly woman attending Reverend Bunworth rushed into the adjoining room, her voice trembling as she asked if anyone else could hear the Banshee's cry. Two skeptical men, determined to prove it was nothing more than the wind, hurried outside to investigate, but as soon as they stepped out the door, silence fell. The yard was deserted, and despite a thorough search of the grounds, they found no trace of any intruder. When they returned to the house, they were met with stunned faces. Rather than silence, the others had heard the moaning intensify during their absence, filling the air with sorrow and dread. The Banshee's scream continued to echo through the night as Reverend Bunworth's condition deteriorated. By dawn, with the first light of day, the Reverend passed away just as the Banshee had foretold. Far from the terrifying spirit that kills with a scream, the Banshee of legend was seen as a figure who mourned death rather than caused it. The word Banshee comes from the Old Irish words ban, meaning woman, and she, which translates to fairy or otherworld. The name literally means fairy woman or woman of the otherworld. While popular culture often depicts her as an eerie old crone with white hair, the Banshee's appearance varied greatly in folklore. She could also appear as a beautiful young woman, veiled in black, as though in mourning with flowing, graceful hair. In both forms, the Banshee symbolized sorrow and loss, embodying either the grace or the harshness of death. According to folklore, the Banshee is known for her long, flowing hair, and she's often seen brushing it with a silver comb. However, if she ever drops her comb, it's wise not to pick it up. It's said that anyone who finds the comb and takes it will be chased down by the Banshee herself, who will bang on their door, wailing until the comb is returned. And returning it isn't as simple as handing it over. You'd need tongs, because touching her comb directly could lead to disaster. To this day, some people in Ireland believe that picking up a stray comb could bring the Banshee to their door. In traditional folklore, the Banshee appears before the death of a member of certain ancient Irish families, particularly those with surnames starting with O, Mc, or Mac. Some believe that the Banshee is a sacred ancestor, which is why they only appear to certain families. But unlike her modern depiction, the Banshee was not malevolent. In fact, she was a family guardian devoted to those noble Irish bloodlines. She served to forewarn death, giving families time to prepare for their loss. Far from an evil entity, she was there to mourn, clapping and wailing for the soul of the soon-to-be departed. The origins of the Banshee myth may be traced back to ancient Irish figures, particularly goddesses like the Morrigan and Brigid. Some scholars believe that these goddesses influenced the Banshee's role as a harbinger of death. Others suggest that the Banshee has roots in a more grounded historical figure, the keening women of ancient Ireland. Keening, a ritualistic mourning practice, involved professional mourners, often women who were hired to wail and lament at funerals. These keeners, who helped families grieve, were seen as guides between the living and the dead. However, the church viewed their work as sinful, claiming that their behavior would doom them to an afterlife as banshees, forever crying before death. The Morrigan, the goddess of battle, fate, and death, also shares a deep connection with the Banshee myth. Like the Banshee, she could foretell death, often appearing as a crow or raven over battlefields, and would sometimes wash the bloodied armor of warriors, a grim omen of their fate. This connection deepens the link between her and the Banshee, as both figures have the power to predict death and oversee the souls of the fallen. Similarly, Brigid, one of the Tuatha De Danann, is said to be the first to keen in Irish mythology. This act of sorrowful wailing, performed to guide the dead to the next world, hints at the Banshee's origins as a supernatural keener. Unlike the keeners who existed between the worlds of the living and the dead, the Banshee took on a more eternal role in death, forever connected to the mortal realm through her mournful cries. But there is one other theory on the origins of a Banshee. Have you ever heard a barn owl's scream? It's genuinely unsettling. While they're now endangered in Ireland, they were once common, especially at night when banshee sightings were most frequent. Barn owls, like banshees, are nocturnal creatures, and their eerie screeches could easily be mistaken for the wail of a banshee. Imagine hearing that sound the night before a death in the family. It's not hard to see how the scream of the owl and the legend of the banshee might have become intertwined. And now it's time to ask if you have heard any tales of the banshee. Is it similar or different to the version I shared today? Let us all know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for other mythical characters you'd like me to cover, comment those too.